Hi, my name's Terry Fletcher, and I'm here to do your safety orientation for the Cherokee Rod and Gun Club. When you came in, when you signed in, you were given us a copy of the rules and regulations, and I hope you've had time to study it. If you have, and you have any questions, well, I'll address them now. If not, well, we'll just move on to the meat of the orientation. We're in the clubhouse right now, and this is available to you as a member of the club for parties, birthday parties, get-togethers, anything. It has a restaurant-style kitchen fully equipped. The only thing that you have to do this is to get this is to go before the board of directors and ask that it be reserved for you, and be required that you either put up a $200 deposit or hire Rick Bragg, who lives down here at the bottom of the hill at the gate, to do the cleanup and pay him. But it needs to be left in the same condition as when you got it. The first place that we're going to go is down here on the lower range, which is down at the bottom of the hill down here, and that is the range that gets the most of the work here at the club. Now, if you're going to come out here on a Saturday between April and October, you're probably not going to be able to use that range because it is scheduled for most of our competitive shoots. It has wooden benches and it has electrical power down there, and we have any kind of, or all kinds of competitive shoots. We have pistol, rifle, military wrap matches, silhouette matches, whatever down there, and most of those are scheduled for Saturday morning and may run up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The range is out to 245 yards, 250, however your range finder reads. It has a fixed target holder at 100 yards. And when you're down there, you'll notice there are 17 movable wooden benches with seats attached. Now, we ask that you leave those benches in the way that you find them when you leave the range. If you happen for some reason to have to move those benches off the firing line and push them back to the back, then put them back the way that you found them, because the next match director will have to set them up that way. Down at this range down here, there are no bullet strikes closer than 25 yards. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have a target that's closer than 25. You can have a bullet impact that's closer than 25, which means that if you're going to shoot a pistol at, say, 8 or 9 yards or 10 yards or something, you have to have a target holder that's high enough up to set that target up to where that bullet impacts beyond 25 yards, and that's the first row of cross ties down there. Now, when you get down there, you'll see a red light up on top of the beams of the roof, and there's a switch on the post. If that light is flashing, that means the range is cold, that people are either down range or getting ready to go down range, and your weapon needs to be cleared, and empty chamber designator in the gun, and you be away from it. Now, if you happen to come down there, and you may very well do it early one morning or something like that, and the range is completely abandoned and that light is flashing, that does not mean that you automatically assume that somebody just turned that light on, loaded up their stuff, and forgot to turn it off. That's probably what happened. But you need to make a cursory effort to find out that nobody is down range. Now, if you'll notice when you get down there, that there's a area that curves off to the right down there, that somebody can be outside of the firing line, and you need to go down there and make sure before you start shooting. As I said before, there's 17 benches down there, and a lot of times that's more than adequate. If you come out here during, say, the week before deer season or something like that, the range may be crowded, but you also don't know how many people are going to be showing up. So we'd ask that you only use one bench. Don't put your rifles and stuff on one bench, your spotting scopes and all this your other paraphernalia on another bench, and in your gun cases, and tie up three or four of the benches. We have plenty of adequate storage back behind for all that. You'll notice down there on the asphalt, there's a line painted there. There are no loaded guns behind that line. That's the firing line. Even if somebody comes into this clubhouse and he's got a gun he wants to show you, you have to take that weapon down to the range, get in front of the firing line, point the muzzle of it down range, and make sure that it's clear. There are no loaded guns now, concealed carry or open carry or things like that. that's another issue. But if somebody's carrying a gun and they want to show it to you, it's not to be pulled out of the holster or anything in this clubhouse. It is to be taken to the range, got in front of the firing line, and made sure it's clear before you even look at that gun. There are no exceptions to that rule. Also, when you get down there, you'll see a bunch of brooms and things like that. We ask that you clean the range, sweep your brass off the pad, and leave the range in as good or better shape than you found it. I would also note to you that there are no 50 BMGs, no tannerite, no explosive or incendiary rounds whatsoever, no tracers. Anything are allowed on these ranges, either one of them, but no 50 BMGs on the lower range. They just tear up all of the swinging steel that we've got set up down there, and we just don't allow them down there. There are also no shotguns down there. Simply because we mow that range and shotgun shells and lawnmower blades just don't get along. So there are no shotguns down there. Most of the problems that we've tried to address, there are signs up. The rules are very well posted down there. If you'll just follow those on that range, you shouldn't have any problems. But also I ask that you be courteous. This is one of the largest gun clubs in the state of Tennessee, and while we have adequate facilities, you also need to be mindful of your neighbor. If you're down here and you've got a weapon that has a high capacity magazine or something like that, we ask that you don't stand there and fire off 30 or 40 rounds and cover your neighbors up with hot brass. One of the rules here that you'll hear violated more times than I like to accept is 1 round per second. Now, you're not supposed to fire any faster than 1 round per second, but if you stand around in this range long enough, you're going to hear that. You're going to be hearing that rule violated many times. But that doesn't mean that I think that we, as a club, sanctions it. It's just you may be called down, or somebody make mention to it if it gets out of hand. All right, now we're going to move on to the upper range, which is when you're down on the lower range. If you turn right and go up the hill, you'll be on the upper range, and when you get up there, you're going to find out that it's much less developed. There's no electricity up there, and the benches are made of concrete, and they do not have seats attached. Now, and we also don't have any fixed target holders up there to move out. Now, we do have a dead level spot that's 50 meters over on the right-hand side that we built for our 50 competitions, and so that is pretty well marked, and the bank is at 50 yards. The rest of it is for your range holder. If you look up the hill, you'll see that there are steel swinging in the trees up to 450 yards at this time right now. Now, when you get up there, you'll also notice that there is a battery-powered red light up there that most of the time works. If somebody leaves it on and goes off, it'll eventually run the batteries down, but most of the time it does work. But as a second precaution, there's a yellow caution tape. It actually looks like a fire hose that's hanging on the left-hand corner of the shed. If you're going out to 450 yards, we need you to physically pull that tape across through there if you're up there and there's no one there to stay there and remind anybody that there's somebody that far down range. So make sure that make yourself aware of that tape. One of the advantages to the upper range is you can shoot shotgun slugs, you can shoot 50 BMGs, you can shoot basically anything except the no tannerite, no incendiary, no tracers, no flammable rounds of any kind are allowed on that range either. Now, when you do get up there, you'll find out that when it rains, it's muddy. And do not ever assume that there's going to be something for you to put a target on or something for you to sit on. If I was going up there on the upper range, I'd bring a target holder and something to sit on. One advantage to that range is we do not schedule competitive shoots up there. If you come out here on a Saturday morning and the lower range is tied up with a competitive shoot, you can always go on the upper range because we don't schedule any kind of competitive ranges, matches or anything like that up there. Before we get to the pond, when you get back down to the bottom of the hill, you'll notice on the right there's a little roadway right there, and that is the practice archery range. I'm not a bow shooter, so I'm not really familiar with that. I know there's several silhouette targets down there and some targets. I do know that there's only field points allowed down there, no hunting broadheads of any kind. But if you're a bow shooter, why, that's where the practice range is. When you're going down through the gate, down the hill, when your card will open the gate down at the pond. Now, when you get through the gate, that gate has to be manually opened and closed. We ask that you close it behind you. When you get down there, you'll see a gazebo down there, or a picnic shed that's been built, and that is available for you to use also. You just go through the same procedure and talk to the board of directors. When you get to the pond, you will see that there's a ramp or a dock that's built out into the pond, and it's accessible to wheelchairs. While we have no problem with you fishing off that, we do ask that if somebody handicapped shows up and that is the only place that they can comfortably fish, we ask that you let them have that and fish somewhere else around the bank. Now, the pond is deep. It's about 16 feet deep, and it's not, the creek wasn't dammed up. If you'll notice, we actually dug a big hole. So if you have children or anything, and if you don't watch them, there's no shallow part of the pond. If you get out there very far from the bank, the water gets deeper really quick. There are a limit of 2 catfish per child to keep per day. The rest of it is catch and release on the catfish. Now, the board of directors has asked that, while we ask people not to stock it, over the years we've developed a population of largemouth bass and bass and bluegills in there, and if you catch those, we actually ask that you do keep them, to take them out of the pond. Turtles have a season. They have a season and a size limit. You can't just throw them out and kill them carte blanche, because they do have a season, and the game wardens do enforce it if they're down there. When you leave the pond, you go back up through the main gate. When you turn to the right and go up to the top of the hill, you'll come to the trap and skeet range. Now, when you get up there are 2 skeet fields. Skeet has a high house and a low house. The trap does not oscillate, and you walk in a semicircle around through there. An actual round of skeet's 24 birds. Your first miss is shot over, and so you shoot 25 times. If you happen to have a perfect round, while you shoot the low house, the last shot a second time. We also have a singles trap up there, which the trap does oscillate, 25 shots to round both of them, and you move on 5 different stations and shoot 5 shots at each one. It's pretty self-explanatory once you get up there. Now, a couple of things about the trap and skeet range. If you decide to go through a second training course with the shotgun chairman or one of his representatives, you can get a key and open that range up whenever you want during regular shooting hours. And to do that, you have to give him 8 hours worth of work that does not satisfy your 4 hours that every member of the club is required to do. Now, when you give your hours to the club, you can either work 4 hours or you can pay $20. That is not an option if you're going to get a key to the shotgun range. Also, when you do get a key to the shotgun range, you're going to find out that you're on the honor system as far as $3.50 per round. Simply pay the money. Every once in a while, we have somebody who wants to go to Walmart or some sporting goods store and buy a box of clay birds and bring them out here and shoot the birds that are in the machines and replace them with the clay birds from the sporting goods store. The birds from the sporting goods store are 4 inches in diameter. The birds that come out of these machines are 4 1/4. Not only are they not the same birds, the machines will absolutely destroy them, and they make a terrible mess, and sometimes they damage the machines. Another problem with them is those machines up there have a 600 bird magazine, and that's a lot of shooting. What happens is somebody goes up and shoots 100 or 150 birds, puts those birds in the top of the magazine, and 4 or 5 days later, somebody else comes up there and inherits the mess that somebody else has made. Simply pay for the birds. Just take the birds, they're in there, pay the $3.50, and shoot the birds that the club furnishes. Simple as that. Don't try to get around it. People will ask you if you can come up there with a do-all trap and shoot hand-thrown birds. I don't have a problem. We don't have a problem with that as long as nobody else comes up to shoot. Now, if you're up there, it is a club. Does make some money for the club. And if you're up there with the range tied up with a do-all trap or a hand thrower, and somebody wants to come up and shoot around a skeet, then you're obligated to give them the range. Other than that, I guess do whatever you want. But my advice is just simply stick with the program, get your key, shoot the birds, use the machines, and just do it like everybody else does. There's a picnic shelter up there, or a shelter that you can leave your stuff, eat your lunch, whatever. When you come back out of the parking lot, you'll see a really steep road down the hill. That is one way, down only. Don't come back up, try to come back up through there. One, it's impossible to keep gravel on that hill if you do, and that's another violation of the club rules. So come down to the bottom of the hill, back down to the clubhouse, where the 5-stand and the doubles trap is located, which is out at this end of the clubhouse out here. Generally, the keys that are given out for the shotgun machines are for the upper range only. The doubles trap down here is a difficult to set up. It's a complicated machine. And the 5-stand is a big job to put up, and we have a 5-stand committee here that does a really good job. So when you come out to shoot doubles trap, or you come out to shoot 5-stand, do that with a committee member. Now, if you do get that key, you're obligated to open that range either 2 Sundays or 1 Saturday for 8 hours or 2 Sundays for 4. And during that, you're required to collect the money, and you are the range officer. You're responsible for what goes on at those ranges, including restocking the machines, collecting the money, and putting it in the drop safe down here. So with that, it is on the honor system for the rest of the time after you get the key. There are a couple of rules here that are absolutely unviolatable. You can't do it. The first and foremost one is there are no loaded guns behind the firing line. In other words, that's no exceptions to the rule. It has to be, if it's loaded, it needs to be pointed downrange. The basic rule of any firearm is you never point a gun at anything you don't intend to shoot. Second one is there's no shooting before 12 o'clock on Sunday, and shooting ceases at 5 o'clock on Sunday. Simply because the churches around here, we have made an agreement with them that we won't disturb them during their Sunday services. So no shooting before 12 o'clock, and 5 o'clock means that you're done. Now I'll give you an example. If you're up on the skeet range and it's 10 minutes till 5 and you decide you can get one more round in, and you're at station 7 or 6 and it's 5 o'clock, you say, well, I'll go ahead and finish out the round. No, you won't. You're done. It's 5 o'clock, and all shooting stops at 5 o'clock on Sunday. No loaded guns behind the firing line, and no shooting before 12 on Sunday, and no shooting after 5 on Sunday. Those rules have been in place for years, and that's where they stand. And if nothing else, I'll let you go.